This week on Out of the Air, our entire show features an interview with the multi-Grammy Award nominee and visionary New Age composer David Arkenstone, discussing his remarkable musical journey, plus he'll be sharing music from the world premiere of his new album released July 1st, Quest for the Runestone. Our spotlights on Lakeshore Community Concerts 2026-27 season.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media, WVLP 103.1 FM, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is on Lakeshore Public Media and is available on Lakeshore Public Media's website as a podcast. Also heard on Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at wvlp.org. Our spotlight interviews are all Wednesdays available at our website. Information about Art on the Air is available at our website, breck.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our show is available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for information about upcoming shows and interviews. Art on the Air listeners, do you have a suggestion for a possible guest on our show? Whether it's an artist, musician, author, gallery, theater, concert, or some other artistic endeavor that you are aware of, or a topic of interest to our listeners. Email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck.com.
Hey, this is Bela Fleck, and you're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Media and on WVLP 103.1 FM.
we would like to welcome David Arkenstone to Art on the Air. The music track we are listening to is called Ancient Magic Awakens from the newly released Quest for the Runestone. David is a composer, musician, storyteller who brings a bit of magic to every project he does. He has almost 40 years' experience and knowledge working in the film and music industries. With more than 50 albums, over 20 Billboard hits, and 5 Grammy nominations, he is one of the most prolific and established composers. A multi-instrumentalist, his compositions are unique fusions of cinematic rock, classical and world music, which creates soundscapes for the imagination. Thank you for joining us on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome, David. It's very nice meeting you.
Aloha to you. It's a joy to be here.
Well, David, we always let our guests, and of course, your biography's out there, so a lot of people know, but maybe it'd be more personalized if you tell us a little bit about your background. I always call it your origin story, how you got from where you were to where you are now.
You know, it probably started when I was pretty small, when I fell in love with the Nutcracker Suite. And I remember being 4 or 5, and I would play Arabian dance over and over again. To me, it was like magic. It was like this magic thing. And as I got a little older, I realized that I wanted to know how to make that kind of sound. It was just so magical to me, especially that track. The whole thing is great, of course, but that track, which I still play in concert in our winter show, because it's really, you talk about origin, I can trace it back to that. And then from there, I took piano lessons from when I was about 6 to when I was about 9, even beyond that.
David, can I ask a question? At 4 years old, you were in Chicago, so did you see it at the auditorium?
Probably saw it downtown somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where, but I remember we took the L, and I thought it was just amazing. And yeah, and growing up, my brothers and I, then we moved from Chicago to Geneva, which is directly west, and pretty much grew up there. And it was just like, I don't know, back then there weren't so many houses, it was just freedom and fields and forests. And we would just ride our bikes and leave for 3 hours when we were just small. And it was just, nowadays, I wouldn't even think of letting my kids do that in places. But anyway, that section of the country has really grown up. So, but then I took piano lessons, so I had a pretty good foundation by the time we got to California. When I was about 10 years old, we moved to Southern California. And I remember the first year we got there, we went to the beach on Christmas Day, and we just thought that was just amazing. Going in the water.
Amazing.
It was such a change, But then a couple years later, the Beatles came out, and I had to have a guitar. So I tried to get my dad to teach me because he was a guitar player, and my mom was an excellent pianist too, but we took lessons from somebody else, so that was smart of her. But my dad played guitar, like jazz guitar, and he couldn't teach me anything. He was so advanced. I just wanted to play, She Loves You, and it was just like, he was so beyond that. So, but they got me guitar lessons. I remember I took a first group lesson with about 12 other kids at a teen center, and it was like, that was the start of that. So then I learned how to play bass, and of course I already knew how to play keyboards, and then I got in bands in junior high and high school. I was in a band, and we played all the dances after football games. Mostly songs nobody knew, just what we liked to play. Obscure Manila Fudge music and just wacky stuff you wouldn't normally hear you hear the hits usually at a school dance. Our biggest competition was a band that played Three Dog Night like it was like the record. They were so good at it. But we had a lot of fun anyway. And then in college, I took a lot of music classes and tried to just shore up that foundation because I knew I just wanted to write music. I wanted to create music. I didn't want to do other people's music so much. I mean, I love the Beatles, but I still wanted to do my own Beatles stuff. But I had a band that was like cross between Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Styx, I would say.
Styx was our house band in high school.
Nice. Yeah. And because we had a lot of harmony, but we also like to play this sort of progressive rock that was classical based because I wrote a bunch of crazy stuff. And so it ended up being like what I just said. And never got a record contract, unfortunately, because when we were doing that band was the height of sort of new wave, where there was a lot of skinny tie music, I would call it, in the early 80s and such. And so after that, our singer quit. Another singer quit, and I was like, I had two small kids, and I was like, I don't know if I don't know if this is the right path. We're rehearsing 4 nights a week. I'm painting houses, whatever, just to make a living. And I thought, I'm just gonna try to do my own thing for a while, see what happens. I made some music. I wrote a lot of music on the piano, and then I had an 8-track tape recorder. And so right around that time, synthesizers and computers became able to talk to each other. And so once that happened, I was like, okay, forget the band. I'm going to be the band. I'm going to do all the parts, which I did. And I made cassettes and I sent them to probably 5 or 6 sort of new age labels because that was the closest thing I could find to the music I was writing, which was a little on the classical side, but anyway, I sent them out and I got response from like 3 of them who wanted to meet and talk further, which was sort of unbelievable to me because I had pounded my head against the rock and roll door for so long. We had people come out to see us and we never got this record contract and it was elusive and we never had the right management. And so it was all like fresh, like, wow, somebody wants to actually talk to me about my music. It was way cool. And I ended up going with Narada because they seemed the most interested in developing me. Like
Mm.
producer there, Eric Lindert, who was instrumental especially in Valley in the Clouds and further on, because I had maybe 30 songs at that time that I thought would all fit together. And he helped me sort of like, pare it down. That song does not belong on this album kind of thing, that the producers do and A&R people do, which was super helpful because I was just, wow, I get to make a record. It was like, holy crap. I've wanted to do this since I was 14 years old. So, lucky for me, people liked my music when it came out. And Valley in the Clouds was all over like the wave style radios. And they played in Chicago and San Francisco and LA. There was a format that was more like, wasn't smooth. It was before they went smooth jazz. It was a little more open. And so several times I heard my music on the radio in Los Angeles, where I kind of grew up, and it flipped me out. It was just like, wow, this is something. The first time you hear it, it's like, really? Wow. I wish I could have captured that moment, But we were just driving around and the kids were there, and it was like, oh, listen, it was really fun. And
Very
then,
exciting.
yeah, it was so exciting. And then, obviously, the success of that record allowed me to do the next record, and it just kept going on from there. And then my fourth record, In the Wake of the Wind, got nominated for a Grammy. And so that was a whole other chapter of a step of achievement, I would say. Like people are responding to what I'm recording. So,
Especially
that,
industry people that way.
yeah, especially that. And Narada, bless their hearts, they got way behind that record. And it was in every record store. And they made kites because we had a big map. They made kites and maps. It was just crazy what they did. So it really helped, like get the news out because a lot of people are still like, "Oh, my first record of yours was Wake of the Wind." And I'm like, "Yeah, it was a moment. It was a career moment, I'd say."
So, what do you think from like 1987 with Valley in the Clouds? How had you grown and what experience did you put into In the Wake that garnered the Grammy look? What do you think had happened?
I think, because part of the reason is because I didn't have to do a day job anymore.
Wow.
I could totally focus on music day and night. You know, I'd pick the kids up and, we'd have dinner, but then I'd still be working at night after they went to sleep. So I think the more I did that, the better I got at it. And the more I knew what I wanted, and the better I got at making a composition that I felt would live within the framework of whatever album I was trying to do. Like I had Citizen of Time, and that was a certain that was a little more open than In the Wake of the Wind. But by In the Wake of the Wind by the time that came, we used a bunch of other people, like more musicians on that one. We had string section, we had a clarinet, we had oboe, we had 2, 3 percussionists sometimes. So
Hmm.
I think the more successful I got, the more I knew exactly what I wanted to say, and I knew how to orchestrate it better. And I'm still finding that out. I'm still working that out. Yeah, I'm grateful every day that I get to wake up and explore music.
And a lot of your work is what we call concept albums. And I don't know if all of our audience understands that. And of course, we're going to be talking about your upcoming album being truly a concept album. But tell us how you work around that. What it generates that concept.
Well, like in the wake of the wind, I knew I wanted to do something that was, at the first it was going to be like this pirate thing, this pirate voyage thing. And then they were like, I don't know, pirates. The record company was like, I don't know, that's kind of a negative connotation. Of course, that was way before Pirates of the Caribbean became mega famous, so it probably would have been okay. But it turned into more of a seafaring thing. And then for me, it turned more into a seafaring adventure, which means there's an island and there's people and you meet all these people. And then we started working on the story. And as soon as I had the story, it was like a script, just like my current record. And all I had to do was say, oh, well, this would be good for music. Let's put music here in this part of the story. And so that all was kind of easy. And we had we had, like I said, a map and everything. The guy brought it into the studio. There's a little, I found some old footage a couple years ago of that recording time, and I put it on YouTube. It's like the making of Wake of the Wind or something. People can maybe find it. And there's a moment when the artist brings the black and white map and just lays it on the studio floor, where I was just sitting around going, wow, oh yes, it became so real. I felt like I was scoring a movie. And I like that more than, I mean, I fluctuate. Sometimes I like making an album that has certain songs, like Winterlude, my last album. It was just my vision of winter and what it means to me, sort of.
Kind of almost like a musical palate cleanser between an epic and then you just need to, you don't want to stop doing it and take a break, but you do something completely different.
Exactly. And I always know I'm going to get back to it, and Quest for the Runestone is really back. But then I did Quest for the Dream Warrior. I did Return of the Guardians, which were both part of the Wake of the Wind universe. So I was very comfortable there. But then I did, and then I moved to Windham Hill and did some albums and got another Grammy nomination.
There's Atlantis, right? Or
Yeah,
when did,
then
yeah.
Atlantis, and Citizen of the World. So, it was interesting to get nominated on two different labels, because then I thought, okay, this is really about the music. It's not about the label. So that was pretty cool, I have to say. It's very validating for your peers to say, you're one of the top five
Right.
this year.
So tell us about collaboration. And of course, your more or recent album before this one was Pangea with Wouter Kellerman, who we have had on our show. But tell us about that type of, and we did before we were on the air. That was partially during COVID that you collaborated.
Absolutely, which was a little strange. But no matter where he would have been, he wouldn't have been where I was. I live in the middle of California on the coast, and it's not a big musical mecca there, which I love. Because I can easily go to LA or San Francisco and get that fix, or do my recording if I'm recording other people. But with Wooder, he emailed me out of the blue, and I knew who he was, and I had a bunch of songs that had space for a soloist. I had like 5 or 6 songs going into that project I wanted to do an album about Pangea, which was another concept album I've been kicking around. So I had the name and I had a bunch of music that had a space for either a vocalist or a flutist or a violinist. So right away we had 5 songs, like within 2 weeks he played on them, and it was like, oh yeah, this is, and then he came up with a bunch of songs and I played on them. He had some friends of his from around the world play on them. And he recorded from Australia. And then we put it together and sent it all I think I did most of the sort of what I'd call pre-mixing. And then we sent it to the mixer who's in Northern California, who he recommended. And so, nobody was in the same room, but it came out great. It was a beautiful record.
Yeah, it was, and Grammy nominated. And I'm sorry it didn't take the Grammy.
It's all right. The thing is, for collaboration, like I've tried to collaborate several times, and most of the time I end up contributing 80% because I'm just a writeaholic, and it's just I have the most stuff that seems like it would fit the project, and everybody doesn't come up with that all the time. So with Wooter, he was a total equal, which was really nice.
I don't know if you had a chance to see his version of Bohemian Rhapsody, especially the video. If you get a chance, you need to see that. He plays multiple parts, and actually is physically in there, and it's a really interesting take on it. I know that it's a different take on Queen, where he's playing the different flutes, and you see all four Wooters in the video. So
Yeah. Well, we actually did some videos, and one of the ones he's in three or four panes, doing that same kind of thing on our piece because there's like a bunch of flute parts, of course. He's like me, just keep adding and adding until you run out of tracks. And then we have to go, okay, that's probably enough, and that's another thing that I've learned, Esther, that you were bringing up earlier. Another thing I've learned is to when to say, okay, that's enough, because these days we can have 60 tracks or more. And it's like, is it really adding to the song? Is the piece, is it necessary? Really?
It's already epic even before you add all
Yeah.
the rest.
I've gotten better at that, at saying, okay, that's enough. I think it's here. I think it's all here. Just needs to be mixed.
So it's true of, I think, all artists. We've talked about that with our artists. But at what point is the painting, the thing, or photography, whatever it is, done? So, of course, I used to have an expression in theater, because theater, you're on a timeline and it has to be done. And we said done is good because it's audience invisible. Whatever's done, it's got to be on stage.
That's right.
We want to move on to your new album, and it's Quest for the Runestone. Tell us a little bit about the background of that, and we'll also allude in the first song. The one comment I want to say is that Dash wrote actually like a story. So I guess my first question is, did the story come first or did the music come first?
I wanted to do another concept album because I haven't done one for a while. Since Pangea, I would say. I had some other albums, Turning of the Year and Solitude, which were more like me and a string quartet, which I love that intimacy, that simplicity, and Solitude was really popular. And so I did Winterlude because it just seemed like a natural progression. And that was another minimal, it was just me and a cellist, that one. So I felt like, okay, I'm ready for something epic now. I was listening to or reading something on the BBC, and it had to do with runestones, which I didn't really, even having a Scandinavian background, I didn't really know that much about them. I think I'd heard of them maybe, but then I started looking at them and I thought, oh man, this is tailor-made for one of my records, I think. So I came up with the title, and then I just picked around at some kind of, like the first song, Prophecy, let's say. I sort of played around with that song as a way in to whatever story there was going to be, and I had no idea. But then I asked Dash if he would write a story, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." And he delivered just incredible, really cool story. Just what I had no idea what it was going to be about. I just gave him the title, And he's, he graduated from Berkeley as an English major, so I thought he could do something. He's a very creative person. So I thought he'd be able to come up with something. And I thought, if I could fill 30 pages in a booklet, that'd be great. So now booklet blew up to like 48 pages.
I know.
But I wouldn't take a thing out. And I did no editing. He just delivered a really, really nice story that was easy.
Inspiring to you.
Right.
Inspiring to me and easy for me to illustrate using music. I'd read it. Rianne just seemed like this great character. So she got her own song, and a lot of the other parts, it was just what I needed to kind of go down the highway to illustrate the story. It was just one thing to the next. It could have been a double album because I skipped a lot of moments that I could have made into songs. But I did a double album for Middle Earth a couple years ago, and that was great. But I didn't want to do that again. I wanted to try to keep it at about an hour.
Sure, and it is.
There was a long gap between those two albums, though, right? The Middle Earth ones?
There's 3 albums in between Middle Earth and this one, yeah.
Well, maybe we should listen to Rianne.
Yes, so here it is from the Quest for the Runestone, David Arkenstone, Rianne. That was Rianne from the new album, Quest for the Runestone, coming out in July here, David Arkenstone. You're listening to Art on the Air with our guest today, David Arkenstone, on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP, 103.1 FM. I have to tell you, when I first listened, I didn't have the booklet when I first listened to the music. And I said to my wife, while we were listening together, actually, I said, this should be a movie. I mean, I didn't know anything other than the names of the songs. I said, this should be a movie. I mean, I can visualize the whole, something happening. You could and I don't know what it was. So the music really does carry you there.
That's an awesome comment, because that means a lot to me, because it's hard to do that with music sometimes, but a lot of my musical journeys and people have resonated with them. They go on these adventures with me, and it's not always the same adventure as I had planned, but they go somewhere, and that's a great feeling. And that song features Eric Rigler on the pipes, of course. And
Right.
man, is that a
It's fabulous.
poignant sound? I mean, it's just like, wow, you can just be in Scotland and you can just hear that, or Ireland, and he's just a master at it.
I mean, it's very quiet, reflective, and then very moody at times. And then you go that into the violin, back to the pipes. Yeah, I love the structure of it.
Yeah, because you can't have pipes all the time.
No.
I mean, it's a lot of pipes, because it's a certain kind of sound, and I wouldn't call it an invasion. I would call it like it just encompasses everything. When you hear these pipes, it's like that's all you can hear, really. And he just did a great job with the melody, and he played on 3 or 4 tracks on the album, so can't say enough about Eric.
So, David, how do you wind up in Gamerland with World of Warcraft?
I think that started because
I mean, it's a good fit.
it is a good fit. And I've been lucky to be able to do it for like almost 20 years. I think it started with a gentleman who programmed my music at Epcot. And somehow I found out, actually, he programmed a track of from In the Wake of the Wind called Papillon at Epcot. And somehow, I mean, I would just keep hearing from people, oh, I heard your music in Epcot. It was like, wow, that's cool. I wonder who did that. How did I get more? Anyway, by the time I found him, he had moved on to being a music director at a game company. And I went and met with him a couple times, and we were sort of kindred spirits, but that nothing ever worked out with that company. But then he moved over to Blizzard, who makes World of Warcraft, which is mega popular, and asked me to do a couple small pieces, which I did. Just like, you don't even have to pay me. I'm just going to do these. Just,
Wow.
So awesome. And it's turned into more and more with them. And I just finished a bunch of pieces with them just now for an expansion that's coming out, I think, at the end of August. So my music fits part of their game. And the game is just enormous. It's got every kind of music you can imagine. And so I think the composers are there's like 7 of us, I think. And we all do what we do best for them. And they've been able to suss that out. And I feel just great when I get an email from them. Oh, we need blah, de blah. It's like, yeah, I'm available.
So what about NBC Sports? Is that an ongoing collaboration as well?
That came originally from a guy who heard my second album, Island. And there's a song on there called Desert Ride. And he put that in a whole bunch of things. And then he finally got in touch with me, and we decided to do an Olympic record for, I think it was 92. So my friend Kosti and I basically got that together in Narada album. And David played a bunch of that music at the Olympics. And then he was a fan. And then the Kentucky Derby came up, and he wanted to know if I wanted to write a theme for that. Like I would ever say no to these people. Yeah, I'm just too busy, wow. So that opened up NBC Sports, because once I did that, which they still use, which blows my mind, because that was 98, I think I did that. And they still use that theme in there. And it's so great to hear it. And I always get comments around that time. Oh, Kentucky Derby's coming up. And then it turned into gymnastics they needed, and then figure skating, and then Premier Soccer, which has been on all the time since like 2011. And so every once in a while they call me. I mean, I don't usually say, "Hey, you got anything for me?" They know what I can do and when I might be right for something, I think. They have a vast music department, so I wait for the call.
That's good. So, any background on Oceans of Ice in regards to the story?
It's a little bit reminiscent of some of the moods of Winterlude, uh, a little bit because it's got some synthy elements, but it doesn't has cello in it and some violin, I think. And there is a part in the story where he talks about oceans of ice, and I just thought it was just an eloquent way to say something, and it was easy to get into that mood for me.
Well, let's take a listen on this journey. Quest for the Runestone, David Arkenstone, Oceans of Ice. That was Oceans of Ice from the new album, Quest for the Runestone, David Arkenstone. And that's going to be available in July. So if you're hearing this, you can find it. And I have to say, the album packaging is marvelous. I mean, fortunately, I got it in advance. I mean, it's just beautiful. You got to put that in for a Grammy, an album package. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. But it contains so much in it besides the booklet, and you actually get a runestone and the everything. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, I kind of went overboard with that. What started it was, CDs are falling off, right? Like people are just streaming now. And the idea of the quest for the runestone and why I didn't release any singles ahead of time is because I wanted it to be a whole listening experience, almost like an LP, where you put it on, you sort of have to engage with it in a way. You can't just play the third track down, even though I did when I was looking for Arabian Dance when I was young. But you can't, you have to sort of engage with it a little more. And so I wanted the CD to be a little bit like that, where it was more of a listening experience all the way through, beginning to end. And it made sense and it took you somewhere and you were like, wow, at the end. So kind of turned out like that. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do that and make a special CD and make a CD even, I want it to be special. So it started with, then we're talking about the booklet. And then I thought, okay, well, if you have a booklet and a CD, that doesn't fit. I mean, you could shrink wrap both of them and that would be your thing. But I thought, I have this album at home that's like the six symphonies of Sibelius on a Deutsche Grammophon. And he had a little box in it. He had a little booklet. And I thought, wow. I mean, we're talking about some cost here, to make what they call a hamburger box. I don't know why they call it that. But I thought, well, that's for me. But then it's like, but the box is bigger than just the story and the CD. So I want to put some more stuff in there that made sense with the story. So I found
Well,
these.
it does because there was that box in the store. There's a box referenced in the story. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
really ties in.
Yeah. And then I said, okay, well, how about a little stone? Okay. How about a little necklace? That's like some of the birds in the story. And then, a magnet got in there somehow. And I don't know. I did go overboard, but I thought it's going to be special. It's kind of a limited edition. So, why not? Why not go for it?
A question. You had a ready-made name with Oceans of Ice in the story, but how is that naming process for you? Because I know for me personally, it's really difficult unless it's right there. I mean, like sometimes it's right there, but the naming, how is that for you? Because you've had a lot of albums and a lot of songs.
Somebody told me at a show that I had 800 songs, something like that. Oh my God. But I have to align it to the project. And this one was a little easier because it had elements in the story. Like there's a song called The Arbos Stirs, which nobody would know about unless they read the story, which I kind of liked because what the heck is that? Turns out to be, what it is in the story. But prophecy I wanted there to be a prophecy, so I had that title. But then after that, there is the Ancient Magic Awakens comes up, and that's in the story. So a lot of this came from the story, and it wasn't that hard. A lot of times I struggle with that naming issue, especially when I did Winterlude because there's so many ways to say the same thing, sort of.
I know you just want to say one, two, three, four, five, and six.
Yeah. And I've never done that on a record yet. That could happen.
Yeah, the naming thing, even for artists, visual artists, is sometimes you have an idea, but then what do you call this thing? You're listening to Art on the Air with our guest today, David Arkenstone, on Lakeshore Public Media, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP, 103.1 FM. We're almost have to wrap up here, David, so we're going to give you a chance, and we're going to play out with the secrets of the runestone. So tell us a little bit about that, but also tell us a little bit about what you have coming up, and of course the release of your albums coming up in July, Quest for the Runestone.
Yeah, well, that song was kind of like the second to last song. So when I do that in a concept album, it sort of has some kind of resolution, I would say, before you get to the place where it's like, okay, we made it, we're on the journey home, or we're done, or whatever. Everything's cool. We vanquished whatever there was to vanquish, all that stuff. So this was part of the explorational journey, I think, of Rianne, where she discovers how she's going to be able to write everything. RIGHT. That was a big moment for me, and that song just took off and became huge. Had everybody that was on the album was on that song.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's a beautiful piece. You have vocals, pipes, drums, and it goes faster and louder. There's a lot of dynamics going on there. Real quickly, because we're going to wrap up here in a moment, and then we're going to play out with Secrets of the Runestone. Any future projects on the horizon?
I'm this one blasted me, but I have some ideas for a couple other projects, but I haven't started them. I haven't even thought of them. We're going on Beyond Tour this winter in Colorado and New Mexico and Arizona, so I'm looking forward to that.
With Quest specifically?
There's not that much I can play from that album, but I'm pretty sure we can play Oceans of Ice, and that'll fit the concept. There's probably something else I might be able to play, but I just like playing the tunes I've played for, we've been touring like for 10 years with this kind of show, and there's my take on a lot of holiday songs, and then some other older winter songs. We play a couple songs from Winterlude, and then this song called Ice Palace that I did was when I was on Windham Hill. So I'm just looking to that right now, and this release is taking a lot. I mean, it's snowballing, let's put it that way. By the time this airs, it'll be like, wow.
I know. It's a very exciting album, and we're glad you shared it with us. That's Quest for the Runestone, David Arkenstone. You can hear it in July. It's going to be released. It's a wonderful album, and if you get the CD, you get a wonderful package, which is kind of rare in this age of downloaded music and everything like that. And we're going to finish with Secrets of the Runestone as we play out here. David, thank you so much for coming on Art of the Year and sharing your arts journey and your music journey.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
And we'd like to welcome back to Art in the Air Spotlight. She's going to talk about the great things coming up in both venues that we're at. It's going to be a whole season, the 2026 season of Lakeshore Community Concert. And they have 6 great events that they're going to have. Carolyn Burkhardt, who is, I'll say, one of the coordinating board members, but always been with us to tell about what they have going on here. Carolyn, welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight.
Well, thank you. I'm so pleased that you had time for me to come in and talk to you.
Well, it's always exciting to hear the new season, so we're always so happy to see your name.
Well, good, because they just reelected me for another term.
All right. Congratulations.
So
Thanks.
tell us about what you have coming up. Well, you have 6 performances. They're almost all of them at the same place, with maybe one exception. Both of those venues, I used to be the director at one point in life and others. So, but tell us about the season, Carolyn.
Okay, well, those venues are both wonderful, and the managers, Ray and Matt, do a terrific job. And our 6 concerts begin on September 8th, which is a Tuesday, at Munster High School. It's called The Sounds of Georgia, and it is a musical review of the history of Georgia. And the second concert is moving to the Highland High School venue, and that's called the Dreamboats, which is, the rock and roll typical that we all love. Then we go to October 27th for Radio Recall, which is a musical celebration. And the 2 people who sing in Radio Recall were stars in Jesus Christ Superstar. So their singing voices are outstanding. Then have a November meeting, which is CeCe Tennille, and she's the Divas of Soul. And we've not really ever done a lot of soul music, so we're hoping that everybody likes this new turn on things. Then we take a break over the holidays and come back in February to Munster High School with Yaniv Zaref, who is not only a singer, but he is a one-man United Nations. He knows, I forget how many languages, 32 different languages. And he uses them throughout his performance. So his clips were excellent. And we're finishing out the season on April 2nd with Piano Men Generations, which is a father and son who have like dueling pianos. I can hardly wait to see, because it's not actually 2 pianos. It's somehow they set up a box and it looks like 2 pianos. And people that I have talked to have seen them in Florida and said, oh my God, they're terrific. So we're excited about this season. We hope we have a nice variety of genres in our music. And we, of course, $75 for all 6 tickets. You can't beat that. And if you want to bring your kids for an extra $15, your kids are eligible for the whole season also. So that's a pretty good deal.
Is it multiple children in a family, or is
Yes, as long as they're children that aren't like in their 20s.
Sure. So did you plan, so Dreamboats starts out with the 50s and 60s rock and roll, and then Radio Recall goes 70, 80, 90s, 2000s. Did you purposely
That was kind of coincidental.
And then Piano Men are it's kind of specifically Billy Joel and Elton John, right? Is that
right? Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, they are. I've heard they're wonderful, so I'm looking forward to that.
So, Carolyn, do you? I know in the past your group used to go down physically to live to listen to them. Now, do you do it more virtually now?
Yes, we do. This is the second year they're doing it completely virtually. They're not even having it in Nashville at all because of the expense and, how the hotels are for people to stay and all of that. So it's really nice. We're having a viewing party, the board is, in October, when it's October 15th to the 18th is when the conference is this year. So, and you can sign up and register for free. So as many board members as wanted to signed up. Plus, if you didn't want to sign up, you could go to our watch party on August 17th and all watch it together. And that's always fun. We did that last year and really enjoyed it. we had a potluck out of it. And so it was a lot of fun.
You still working with my old buddy, Laura Anderson down there?
Oh, yeah. She's a gem.
I know.
I'll tell you, she's patience of a saint, because it took us so long to get things firmed up because of, high school, how it was.
Oh, yeah, I
all
do.
the plays and choruses and bands and everything that has to go on there. So, but I want to make sure I give you the website if you want to purchase tickets online, lakeshoreconcerts.org. That's lakeshoreconcerts.org. And you can purchase tickets online, or you can show up at the very first show on September 8th and purchase them at the door. And you can get a season ticket there too. Also, we'll be mailing our tickets out to people who've already subscribed in the middle of August. We are very pleased that we get to talk to you, and Esther.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming back on and telling us about the wonderful season. Of course, having worked with live on stage for many years through you guys, it was always a privilege, especially Laura was great. That's Lakeshore Community Concerts, and you can find them out on lakeshoreconcerts.org. And $75 gets you 6 wonderful performances, and at both venues are great places, both Munster and Highland. Carolyn, thank you so much for coming back on Art on the Air Spotlight and sharing your new season.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you and Esther giving me the time to interview. And remember, there's free parking included in the $75. So, hey, what can you ask?
Excellent. It's a great season again. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Art on the Air is brought to you by Ember Forge Consulting, with end-to-end expertise in learning strategy, design, and implementation. Ember Forge turns your organization's knowledge into impact. To learn more, visit emberforgeconsulting.com. Art on the Air is brought to you by Ember Forge Consulting, with end-to-end expertise in learning strategy, design, and implementation. Ember Forge turns your organization's knowledge into impact. To learn more, visit emberforgeconsulting.com. Did you know that you can also listen to Art on the Air anytime as a podcast at Lakeshore Public Media's website, through Lakeshore's app, or from NPR? Plus, it's available on demand from your favorite podcast website, including TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and many more. If you have a smart speaker like Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, or Apple Siri, just tell it to play Art on the Air to hear the latest episode. We'd like to thank our guests this week on Art on the Air, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art on the Air is on Lakeshore Public Media and is available on Lakeshore Public Media's website as a podcast. Art on the Air is also heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at WVLP.org. If you have a smart speaker like Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, or Apple Siri, just tell it to play Art on the Air to hear the latest episode. Our Spotlight interviews are all Wednesdays available at our website. Thanks to Greg Kovach, WVLP's station manager. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. We'd like to thank our current underwriters, Ember Forge Consulting, thoughtful marketing and digital learning built to express your purpose and grow your reach. Learn more at emberforgeconsulting.com/grow. And for WVLP, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments. So we may continue to bring you Art in the Air. We rely on you, our listeners and underwriters, for ongoing financial support. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, we have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA, where you can find out how to become a supporter or underwriter of our program in whatever amount you are able. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. You'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. If you're interested in being a guest or send us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.